Hey yo, so we are finally starting. After doing the She-Hulk story, where she's the new Grey Hulk. After doing Avengers, No Surrender, where the Hulk gets brought back to life. And after winning a community poll, we're finally going to start the Immortal Hulk. For anyone new to the channel, I will create a playlist specific for all of our Hulk related content in case you want to watch all of those in order. If you're a fan, go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date with everything that we do. This story starts with The Immortal Hulk, number 1, made by Ewing, Joe Bennett, Ruy Jose, and Paul Mounts. Man is, on the whole, less good than he imagines himself or wants to be. Carl Gustav Jung, Psychology and Religion. Somewhere in the middle of the desert, a small sedan pulls up to the parking lot of a Roxxon gas station. The driver, a man in a blue hoodie, parks as far away from the building as he can. Beads of sweat accumulate on his forehead. He sees a woman and her daughter park at a gas pump, and he watches as the daughter slams the car door and stomps into the gas station. His hand trembles. He's nervous, and the gun in his hand is heavier than he expected. The girl walks into the gas station, and there are only 2 other people inside. The cashier, whose eyes were stuck on his phone, and a man with a green hat reading a magazine off the stand. The girl walks to the back of the store and opens the refrigerator to grab a drink. This alerts the man, and he looks over his shoulder at the girl. "What are you looking at?" asks the girl as she wrinkles her face. The man places his magazine back down on the rack. "Excuse me," he mumbles. He tips his hat to hide his face as he brushes past the girl and makes his way towards the exit. "Creep," the girl says, staying wary of the strange man. What's his deal? She examines the magazine rack and sees the man was holding an issue of the National Investigator. On the front cover, a picture of the Hulk. There have been rumors of Hulk sightings in the area. Speculators are asking if the Avengers even know. There are 2 people in every mirror. There's the one you can see, and there's the other one, the one you don't want to. The man in the blue hoodie walks through the door, his face now half covered by a red bandana. "Hey, which pump?" the cashier asks, eyes still locked on his screen. The man doesn't answer. "Mister, which... Oh." When the cashier finally looks up, he's looking into the end of a barrel. Sweat continues to drip from the gunman's forehead. His hand continues to shake. No alarms," the gunman orders. Open the register." The cashier holds up his hand, and the gunman doubles down. I just want what's in the... He is interrupted by the sound of glass shattering. The young girl, out of shock, drops her bottle. The following noise causes the gunman to immediately turn in her direction. He flinches and fires the gun. The bullet pierces through her chest. She collapses and falls backwards. The back of her head cracks when it hits the floor. The gunman's eyes widen. There's smoke coming from the barrel of his gun. And the man in the green hat saw everything happen in less than a second. You just... The man in the green hat's eyes begin to glow an ominous shade very similar to his own attire. You! But in less than a second, another shot is fired, and this bullet plants itself in the center of his skull. The man in the green hat stumbles backwards and falls against the refrigerator before sliding into a pool of his own blood on the floor. Tears form in the cashier's eyes. Please, man, please! I swear I didn't touch the alarm. I'm sorry, apologizes the gunman. He points his weapon back at the cashier. No! Sobs the cashier. I didn't see your face. Please, I didn't see any. Later that evening, the authorities made it to the crime scene and have started the beginnings of their investigation. Not long after, the news catches wind and the reporters arrive. A detective leading the case gets pulled to the side and explains what the police know so far. Sandra Ann Brockhurst, 12 years old. Then we have the counterman, one Josh Alfaro, 22. And a John Doe. No ID, but probably local. Pretty sure I know him from somewhere. And you're okay with all that going in tomorrow's edition, Detective Mays? Asks the reporter. Well, I'm hoping it might loosen a few tongues, the detective admits. All off the record, Ms. McGee. We got blurry security footage, but no real witness. Mrs. Brockhurst remembers a blue hoodie and a gray car, maybe beige. She didn't get a plate number. We dug the bullets out of the bodies, and we'll do what we can with those. But what we can is usually some folks in West Virginia sorting through paper records. Paper records? Asks McGee. CSI by the way of the gun lobby, counters Detective Mays. Don't act surprised, Jackie. You've been a reporter long enough. You see how the world is. Even if maybe you don't want to. On the other side of town, there is a biker den. An old, abandoned building, now filled with graffiti, broken beer bottles, and castaway couches. The man in the blue hoodie sits on the couch. His hands are still trembling from earlier. I didn't want to do it. I heard something fall, and I turned, and it went off in my hands, he says, motioning to the guns. And then the others, they saw me. I swear I didn't think. I was scared. I panicked. I didn't know what to do. One of the bikers sits down next to the man in blue. Yeah, too bad, he says sarcastically. How much did you get? What? The man in the blue hoodie asks. The money, Tommy. How much you get? I haven't counted. A couple hundred, I think. Oh, God. Good, the biker tells him. so you can start paying me back. 200. That's about the interest on what you owe me. You're not a bad guy, Tommy. So I've let you slide a little, you know? Just 'cause I like you. I like your whole family. You understand me? Tommy digs in his pocket and pulls out a crumpled wad of cash. Yeah, sorry, Joe. I wasn't... Here. Joe throws his hand over Tommy's shoulder as he snatches the money. How's that going? That whole situation? We paid till the end of the month. With the money you, Thank you. But I couldn't get that job. Joe sits back in his seat and scratches his beard. I figured. And there's next month. And we can't pay the light bill. And I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. You thought about robbing a gas station? The other bikers in the den all begin to laugh. Tommy doesn't. Relax, Joe tells him. I'm just having a little fun. Get out of here. Go get the rest of my money. Next time, don't bring me a sob story with it, huh? I mean it. You want out of this hole you're in, you're gonna need to toughen the hell up. Don't be weak, Tommy, 'cause somebody stronger than you is always gonna come along and... Suddenly, the ground beneath their feet begins to rumble. The walls of the building sway and the lights turn off. The couch falls over and everyone falls with it. It was like a bomb went off. The bikers scramble to their feet and grab their weapons. Joe sends two others to go outside and check on the generator. The generator, they find, has been crushed in on itself. From the looks of it, it looks like something, somehow, lifted it and smashed it into the ground. One of the bikers, Mikey, raises his gun and peers into the darkness. In the shadows, he gasps. Something's moving! Something's... Mikey's screams break through the silence of the night. The second biker runs back into the den. It got him, he yells. It was just there. So big. It's the devil. Shut up, Joe says, attempting to shake the man to his senses. It's the devil, man. It's the damn king of hell. I said, shut up, Joe yells back. He pistol whips the biker, knocking him out. Meth head fuck, he tells the rest. Form on me. All of you, whoever it is, they can't stay in the dark forever. Anything comes through that door, you unload on it. On the other side of the den, Tommy sprints to his car. Oh God, oh God! The sound of gunfire and collapsing walls echo in the background. Tommy reaches his car, digs in his pocket, and pulls out his keys. His hands are trembling. He drops the keys. Tommy then drops to his knees and reaches under the car to grab them. And when he stands back up, everything is silent. Hello? Tommy raises his pistol. Is anyone still? Hello? Anyone? A shadow is casted over Tommy. Seconds later, the Hulk crashes down in front of him. The giant looks down at Tommy. Its beady eyes are fixated on him, piercing through him, and Tommy doesn't know what to do next. Then, it speaks. Sandra Ann Brockhurst, it says. Its voice is deep and grainy. That was her name. It leans closer. She was 12. Tommy steps backwards. No, I didn't want. The Hulk interrupts Tommy's stuttering. He asks, clearly and coolly, how's it feel in your hand? What? Tommy asks back, now staring at his weapon. Heavy, right? All that stopping power. Heavier than it is at the range. You go to the range much, Tommy? Do you shoot the paper targets? It was heavier in the gas station, I'll bet. With the other targets. Please, Tommy continues to step backwards. He reaches the front steps to the den and trips. I'm sorry. I know what I did. And I know I can never, but I'll go to the police. You can take me to the police. I'll tell them everything. I swear to God, I'll go to jail. Whatever punishment, whatever they do to me, just let me. Please, I have a family. I have a little girl. You don't say. Hulk huffs. I know, just, I didn't want this. I made a mistake. Didn't you ever make a mistake? Please, I swear, I'm not a bad guy. Am I? Tommy's question almost makes Hulk laugh. What do you think? The next morning, Agent Mays tells McGee that the body of John Doe is missing. The other two corpses from the gas station robbery are undisturbed as far as the police can determine. But the same can't be said for the county medical examiner's office. On the other hand, the local chapter of the Dogs of Hell gang was squatting in an abandoned housing development. Police knew the gang was into drugs and organized crime, protection, loan sharking, but they wanted enough on the gang to make a move. Someone else moved first. All the gang members are in stable condition, concussions and fractures mostly. But something put the fear of God in them. They're very eager to talk. Which brings us to Thomas Edward Hill. Turns out he owed the gang money. Police found him in the hospital parking lot in a shallow crater, like a meteor just landed and brought him along. Thomas has a collapsing lung, internal bleeding, and just about every bone in his body is broken or crushed. He's been unresponsive and he's clinging to life. Doctors say he'll never walk again. Good, McGee says as she writes down her notes. There's more, Detective Mays tells her. The gas station robbery? He did it. The murder weapon was lying next to him. matches the casing at the scene. We've got his prints too. Plus, a couple of the dogs heard him confess. On the record, the assailant is unknown. Off the record, and I'm only saying this because people should know. You should know. But this never came from me. That someone who attacked the dogs tonight, he was big. Built like an engine of hell, I quote. And he was green. Understand? McGee takes a moment before responding. It could be one of the others. No, not this. McGee argues he's dead. There was an autopsy, a funeral. Bruce Banner is dead, Gloria. Yeah, he is. And so was the John Doe in the gas station with the familiar face. He was dead. And then the sun went down. There are two people in every mirror. There's the one you can see, and there's the other one. The one you don't want to. It's morning. Bruce Banner wakes up in a cheap motel at the crack of dawn and takes a shower to start his day. He tells himself, I'm not a bad person, am I? He looks into the mirror. What do you think? All that a man hath will he give for his life. Job, chapter 2, verse 4. He doesn't dream about the bomb anymore. He dreams about the waiting, about a tiny room and a Geiger counter. The radiation he had taken, nobody could survive. Nobody. The walking ghost phase, they call it. When you feel like you're still healthy, like you're not already dead. But death was coming, lumbering toward him, slow, painful, and that damn Geiger counter kept hissing and crackling at him, laughing at him. It wouldn't shut up. It wouldn't leave him alone. It wouldn't leave him alone. He mumbles under his breath. He sits up in his seat on the bus and looks out the window. He wonders if he said that last part out loud. It doesn't matter. Really. The bus is mostly empty. Nobody to give a fitfully sleeping stranger a second look. But he has had the same dream 3 nights running now. There's probably a message there. He should probably stop sleeping. Or at least stop sleeping at night. The night is his time. The bus pulls into the stop. A small town. He doesn't even catch the name. But there's an itch in his skull, and his seat is no longer comfortable. Message received. His name is Bruce Banner, and his life is very simple. He doesn't own things. The clothes on his back he'll keep as long as he can, but they won't last. They never do. Any money he earns, begs, or steals is used up quickly if it's not abandoned with his clothes. Bus tickets, a shower, and a bed when he can afford them. A hot meal now and then. Simple pleasures. Like, for instance, 2 eggs, sunny side up, salt on the white, pepper on the yolk, lingering gold oozing on the tongue. Bruce's 5 senses are all he truly has. He tries to appreciate them. He wonders, what would his old therapist, Leonard Sampson, say to this? Bruce Banner, sensual being. The Jungian view, maybe. Sensations as one of the ego functions. If the conscious mind focuses on physical stimuli, taste and smell, the evidence of sense, science, that would make the subconscious, repressed mind the domain of the intuition, unscientific thought, mysticism, and magical thinking, gut feelings, and hunches. Come to think of it, Bruce hasn't spoken to Leonard in a while. Does he even know Bruce is alive? Does Betty? He should call. He will. He'll pick up the phone as soon as he's ready. But for now, his life is very simple. Bruce walks the earth, and he looks for ways to use the power inside him. Ways to use him. To bring a measure of justice into this world. Ways to atone for his sins. Unfortunately, Bruce is starting to get noticed. A reporter named McGee put Bruce on the front page of the Arizona Herald. Now, everyone's asking questions. Is Bruce Banner alive? Are they covering it up? And so on. It's a matter of time before someone of authority decides they have to find him. Suddenly, Bruce's concentration is broken by the headline of the local paper. Mayor says mystery deaths are nothing to worry about. The itch is back, buzzing in Bruce's skull. Intrusive. A hunch. A gut feeling. He decides to ask some questions. Bruce finds himself at a local Irish pub. It's empty for the most part. Just the bartender and the one other patron inside. Yeah, the mayor's right, the bartender says, washing a glass. Seriously, it's nothing. Just what do you call it? Statistical thing or something. The patron, on the end of the bar, lets out a noise similar to a deflating balloon. I'll tell you what it is, he says, picking up his mug. It's grief. Don't start, Roy. I'm telling you, I know 4 people fell to this thing. Same pattern all around. They lose someone. They bury them. They fall into grief. Then the sickness comes to them like a chain of sickness, a chain of grief. Whole town will be grieving pretty soon. Then what? The bartender raises her eyebrow, then turns to readdress Bruce. It's this theory he's got. You shouldn't bug the clientele with that stuff, Ruy. Bruce leans his head forward to get a better look at the other patron. When do you think it started? The chain of grief? Well now, that's easy. When the Fry boy died. Ruy! The bartender snaps. When the boy died, something dark landed on this town. I'm telling you. The Fry boy? Bruce asks. The bartender digs in her pocket and pulls out a phone in order to show Bruce a photo. Del Fry, from King, star quarterback. I mean, basically, he was the college team. That's him. He died from an embolism or something. Just kneel over and died. Nice kid. I mean, he had the looks. He was everybody's hero. The whole town loved him, but he never let it go to his head. He was rich, too. His father was a doctor. Invented something, or made it better. Something like that. What was it? Some kind of medical treatment? Cancer treatment. Oh, it was radiation treatment. The itch returns, focused on a single point, right where the arrow went in. Bruce once asked an acquaintance of his to fire a special arrow through his skull and into his brain. It was a complex situation. I'll spare you the details. Bruce would have requested something less lethal, but he wanted to know. He wanted to know if he could die. Anyway, the arrow did a lot of damage, and he's not sure it all healed. Bruce is still intelligent, still a nuclear physicist, but what he was capable of, wearable force fields, puzzle boxes that define genius itself, that part eludes him. Honestly, Bruce thinks that he's smarter than him now. Bruce can feel him. The itch, the hunch, impatient, angry, guiding Bruce through the puzzle box, the clues, a chain of grief, a mysterious sickness that begins with burying the dead, and it started here, at the Green Peak Cemetery. There is something in this place, in the air and soil, something Bruce recognizes, something he doesn't want to, something that's part of him. Oh no, Bruce gasps as he realizes it. No, no, no! He sprints over to the nearest payphone. He has no other choice but to call the authorities. Gamma radiation, he tells them, emanating from that grave. Anyone visiting here is in danger. Acute radiation syndrome. It looks like the flu at first. Food poisoning. But then the white blood cells die off. Your immune system shuts down. It's called the walking ghost phase. No, I don't have exact readings. I told you I can't give you my name. They don't believe him. Why would they? He's some idiot calling from a payphone, and the EPA won't send the Radiological Emergency Response Team for just anyone. Fine, fine, he yells into the phone. You want my name? My name is Robert Bruce Banner. Don't make me angry. That gets their attention. They tell Bruce to wait by the phone, but he has places to be. He saw it on the way in. Of course, a flash of green on a distant mountain, just for a second. Bruce thought it was a trick of the light, but he knew it was something else. Something to investigate. He's a lot smarter than Bruce is, especially now that the sun's gone down. The night is his time. It takes some searching, but Bruce finally finds the cave he is looking for, well off the beaten path. He doubts anyone would stumble across it if they weren't looking. But then again, he could be wrong. Bruce can see the light seeping out of the cave. He reaches the entrance, and now everything is painted green. Corpses are littered everywhere. Each one exsanguinated, mummified, and drained of life. Each one still clothed. Signs that they were unwilling victims, unprepared for death. Then, a voice echoes from the back of the cave, a harsh and raspy whisper that bounces off the cave walls. I'm sorry. A man approaches, glowing bright green, like a cracked glow stick. His body, gaunt. His clothes are in tatters. Ah, Bruce begins. Dr. Fry, I presume. I'm so sorry, Dr. Fry says. But I can't let anyone find me. With every step, he inches closer and closer to Bruce. He walks with a heavy foot and his arms extended. Still, Bruce doesn't expect for the doctor to grab him by the throat and slam him onto the ground. Wait! Bruce tells him, wait! But it doesn't take long. The doctor overpowers him and breaks Bruce's neck. I'm sorry, the doctor repeats. I'm sorry. Some time ago, Bruce asked an acquaintance to shoot him in the head with a special arrow. He wanted to know if he could die. And Bruce can. But he can't. It takes less than a second. Once Bruce's neck is broken, his skin begins to change. His bones begin to break, enlarge, and reform again. His muscles stretch and expand, and his body grows until he can hardly fit in the cave. Now, Bruce is gone. "Oh my God," the doctor gasps. "You're him. You're Dr. Banner." The Hulk slams Dr. Fry on the ground, then picks the man up by his throat before looking him in the eye. "Are you trying to piss me off?" I, the doctor stutters. "Your kid, what was his name? Dell? It started with him, didn't it? And don't lie, Fry. I can smell a liar." Dr. Fry explains that he was afraid of death. It's strange. He never really thought about death until after his wife, Claire, died. He thought where she might be, the afterlife he'd been taught to accept, and he couldn't imagine it. He just couldn't. And he began to think about what death really was. An unimaginable absence. A total cessation of being. All the joys of touch and taste and smell, of thought, even the memory of thought, gone. Utterly. It was like staring into some terrifying abyss. And the doctor's son, his perfect son, was he at the edge of that abyss as well? Condemned to nothing. The doctor threw himself into work. His work, based on Banner's work. Everyone saw Banner as a cautionary tale, not Dr. Fry. To Fry, Banner was a promise of hope. A man death could not claim. Dr. Fry made some minor improvements to conventional cancer treatments. That was good, useful work. It paid the bills. But the real work, that Fry kept to himself. Human testing began with self-treatment, and it went perfectly. A month after the initial injection, he felt 10 years younger, with a gamma-powered healing factor and no side effects. So, then, he gave some to his son. He had to. Dell was going pro, and the injuries you get playing football, concussions, brain damage, the doctor couldn't wait. But after the first injection, Dell's eyes began to glow green, and his now discolored blood began to pour out from every orifice. Dell told his father that he could see. He could see a door, a green door, and there was something else looking through it. The last thing Dell said were the words, "It's below us, below everything." Immediately after, Dell fell to the ground, began to convulse, seized, and died in a puddle of his own off-colored body fluid. It was seen as a random tragedy. The doctor burned the serum, destroyed his notes. Nobody suspected. He didn't have the courage to confess. He couldn't talk to anyone, couldn't look at anyone, couldn't leave the house. So, when the change started, he was the only one who saw. The Hulk pieces it all together. Yeah, I got it from here. You hid in the middle of nowhere, and in between offing anyone who found you, you've been sitting here wondering why. Don't ask me about the science. Science is the other guy. Maybe you built up a tolerance. All that gamma work. You didn't get the full effect until too late. Your own walking ghost phase. He turns to the doctor. Me? I look for irony. You're afraid of death. Now you are death. You love your son? You put him in a grave. Oh, God, the doctor says, finally realizing. Yeah, now you get it. He's radioactive, just like you are, Fry. Daddy's little boy. And 6 feet of earth isn't enough to contain that. Everyone who gets in range to mourn could walk away with a fatal dose. Walking ghosts. And then someone has to mourn them. A chain of grief. How many, Dr. Fry? How many because you were scared? Please, the doctor begs. I made mistakes, but I don't want to die. Hulk huffs. Is that so? Well, you made your bed, Fry. Time to lie in it. More than 5. More than 10. Maybe even more than 20. The Hulk rips off his arms and his legs and buries Dr. Fry dozens of feet within the heart of the mountain. He cannot move. He cannot sleep. He cannot die. And no one can hear his cries for mercy. Oh God, no, no, not this, please, I don't want this, the abyss, the nothing, it'd be better than this, death is better, please, just let me die. Elsewhere, at the cemetery, the radiological emergency response team is excavating Del Fry's casket. When they finally recover and take the lid off the casket, they find that Del has been alive all along. And in the lowest deep, a lower deep, still threatening to devour me, opens wide. John Milton, Paradise Lost. Somewhere in South Dakota, ace reporter Jackie McGee of the Arizona Herald interviews a number of witnesses in regards to the events on Mercer Avenue. From what she's gathered, each of them, 4 in total, are eyewitnesses for at least one piece of the puzzle. And she would like to hear what happened from their point of view. First witness, the cop. "Well, little lady," he begins, "have I got a story for you. Sundown, and crime lurks with the twilight. At the old church on Mercer Avenue, a hostage situation, they said. Perp with gun, holding a priest and a helpless old lady. Except the perp was one Lou Lambert, a no-good juvenile delinquent going by Hotshot, the human ray gun. Kid caught a dose of gamma rays that made him something more than human. He wasn't packing a gun, he was one. And boy howdy, he knew how to use it. We needed the call to go forth, Pilgrim. We needed a hero to assemble. In Blue Blazes, we sure got one." Next witness, the bartender. "They asked to use the bathroom. I mean, I'm not a bad person or anything, but what was I gonna do? His clothes didn't even fit him. They looked like someone died in them. And he looked like a serial killer. I mean, he was at least going to shoot up in there, right? Anyway, things got pretty heated. I guess, looking back, I dodged a bullet. Anyway, that was when he saw the TV. The local news thing, the siege on Mercer Street, Mercer Avenue, whatever. But the next thing I know, he's lunging towards this couple eating and grabs a knife from the bar. Obviously, I was like, whoa! But he just runs out the door. I mean, obviously, I didn't know who he was. Next, the old lady. "No, I don't know the young man. He was so handsome, though. Such a tragedy. I remember thinking he looked like James Dean. Such a nice young man. I was a Deaniac when I was a girl. I remember him telling the priest, 'Please, Father, I need your help. My girl, Jess, I love her, Father, more than I can say, but she's dying. We need the last rites.'" Or something like that, the old woman corrects herself. "My hearing isn't what it was, but I'm afraid after that, I think he said, I never believed in that stuff before. None of it. But now all I want is to know her immortal soul is saved. Will you help me, Father?" The priest told the boy that he broke in during a service, that he'd taken hostages. Then he threatened to call the police. "They'll never understand, Father. Nobody understands. Nobody in the whole damned world. Nobody understands love." The woman blushes. "He really did look just like James Dean." According to the priest, he He looked like something from a horror movie. His skin was green and greasy, like he hadn't slept in days. There was a smell coming from him, like urine and cobwebs. He told me, "The devil, Father! The devil's in here!" Or something. Something like the devil. Something underneath, below everything. Get away from me. You're not listening. The one below. It got into her somehow. We need an exorcism. She needs one. See? There's this door to the below place. Like a green door. I've seen it in dreams. I know how that sounds. Lou mumbles to himself. I was terrified. I'd just seen this mutant shoot fire from his fingers. Now those fingers were next to my face, and he was insane. Quite insane. And he was going to kill me, and old Mrs. Melrose, and the police. They attempted to calm the boy down, to find someone to help negotiate, but he just started screaming. No! No negotiating! No more cops! You think I'm stupid? Just listen to me! Why won't you listen to me? Why won't you just help me? So I prayed. I prayed to God above for salvation, for deliverance. And this will sound strange. After all, my prayers were answered. But that answer, what was sent to deliver me, I don't think it was sent by God. The Hulk jumped through the window and landed in the middle of the room. Lou's hands began to glow, prepping an attack to ward off the Jade Giant. The old woman remembers. The Hulk didn't talk. He just growled. And then grabbed Lou and broke every bone from his wrists to his fingertips.
Oh, it was horrible. Horrible. Such a handsome young man, all alone against that monster.
The cop sees it differently. Monster? Old Jade Jaws? Come on, lady. He's a founding Avenger. He's been in movies. He's a hero. Rough around the edges, maybe, but he was disarming a felon. Literally. Or so he thought, because the pain just made Hotshot mad. And the madder he got, the stronger he got. The boy blasted a freaking hole through the Hulk's chest. The priest says, God help me. I couldn't look away. I saw it all. The hole in his chest. The pulped, torn remains of skin and bone. Arteries and organs. A charnel house, open to the world. We waited for him to fall. Instead, everything just grew back. The look on his face while it happened, that's what I can't forget. The boy said what I was thinking. It's you! You're the shadow! The one below all! You're the devil himself. The cop kicks his feet up on his desk. "You're the devil himself. Know what the big guy said to that? You're damned right. Nuff said. He went out the way he came in. Didn't stay to be thanked. Modest, you know? Anyway, when Lambert woke up, we had him in cuffs. Special ones. And then, oh yeah, this next part ain't so fun." The priest remembers. The boy had been starving in a motel on the edge of town. I went there with the police. I don't know why. Something in his voice. I suppose I had to know. So I saw the body. She was smiling at us. When we went in, it was a peaceful smile. Green door. I couldn't, I wasn't able to. I haven't been able to pray, Ms. McGee. Not since that day. What does that mean? The old woman continues to blush.
Jess Harrison. She had a super person name as well. I don't remember it. I went to visit him, you know? In the... oh, what was it called? One of those special facilities. You know. He seemed glad for the company. He said,
It wasn't me. I tied her to the chair. I had to. Her power was out of control. We needed help. But I didn't. I'd never. She was alive when I left her. I loved her. You've got to believe me. Someone's got to believe me.
I told him I'd pray for him. But, well, he found a way to hang himself, I'm told. In his cell. I'm not sure how. Such a tragedy. Ah, well,
she sighs.
Tea?
The bartender remembers.
Yeah, they're calling it a sighting now. I mean, they're saying it's not confirmed, but okay. I was watching the whole thing on the news, and blah blah, the situation has been resolved. No details at this stage. Back to football. But then, I lock up for the night. I go down the street to the parking lot, and my damn car was crushed. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know how he knew, but that's confirmed. That was him. And he sucks.
It's the end of the night, and Jackie McGee is rounding off her notes from the witnesses. If these sightings are unconfirmed, it's because nobody wants to confirm them. These witnesses, these points of view, they add up to something. Maybe something bigger than the people in charge think it is. But there was one other person at the church on Mercer Avenue. The same guy who was in Arizona and Colorado. And until Jackie can talk to him, she's not going to get the full story. But then, out of nowhere, Jackie's phone buzzes. It's an unknown caller. She puts it on speaker. Immediately, a voice calls out, "Jacqueline McGee, from the Arizona Herald?"
How did you get this number?
She asks flatly.
Your editor gave it to me when I dropped my name. Turns out he's a Packers fan. Walter Lankowski. I work for Alpha Flight, the International Space Team. Or, I did. I'm kind of on a leave of absence at the moment. Right. I should get to the point. It's like this, Ms. McGee. I've been reading your articles, and you seem to be the only person actively looking for Bruce Banner right now. Apart from me, that is. Why? Well, he's an old college buddy of mine. I want to know he's okay. And if we're being totally honest, I could use his particular expertise. Right, exactly. There's something I want him to look at.
One always dies. Too soon or too late. Jean-Paul Sartre. No exit. Within a small airport in South Dakota, Jackie McGee is negotiating with her editor, Murray, over the phone. They just broke the story, and if they want to keep it, they will have to break it again. Jackie knows there were Hulk sightings before they made them the front page, but they have given those random Hulk sightings legitimacy. The government can deny and obfuscate all they want. People know Bruce Banner's alive. They're starting to believe it. So now, the press believes it too. And they are on it. The Times, the Post, the Bugle. Everyone's sniffing green blood in the water. If the Arizona Herald wants to stay in the race, it's not going to be enough to just chase Banner. They need to find him. Jackie lets out a long, drawn-out sigh.
Okay, fine. I need to find him. Happy? Look, this is my story, Murray. Yes, I'm keeping my objectivity. It's not about what happened when I was... Murray, just listen, okay? We need Banner to go on the record. The guy I'm meeting can help with that. And look at it like this. Even if we can't find Banner, his college roommate is the next best thing.
At that moment, a gruff man walks up, rolling his luggage, and introduces himself.
Jacqueline McGee? Hi, I'm Walter Lankowski, or Sasquatch if you'd rather. Canada's own hairy half-a-Hulk turned space diplomat, and Bruce Banner's college roommate. Pleasure to meet you.
The two leave the airport and drive across state lines to Minnesota. There has been a fresh Hulk sighting, so it looks like Walter's interview will have to be made on the run. The first question Jackie asks to Walter is how they met.
How we met? Well, this was at Penn State University.
He transferred there for a semester. Penn had lab facilities. Desert State didn't. Gamma facilities. Anyway, he needed a research assistant. And there I was, with a football scholarship, a head for physics, and a passion for knowledge. We got along like a house on fire. Mostly. I remember one time he said to me, "For pity's sake, Lankowski, you can't just pick up advanced gamma theory. This isn't learning the ocarina of time in 5 easy steps. You're a jock, a half-smart jock, a jock with ambitions, but a jock is what you are. Everyone already fawns over you for carrying a ball around. You want them to love you for your mind, too? Well, tough. You get the football. This is mine. Mine!" Jackie is speechless. She looks away from the road and to Walter for a second. "Wow, he went off like that a lot?" Walter throws his hand up and waves the thought away. "Once or twice, a few times. But look, his mother was dead. His dad was in the institution. He was holding in a lot. He was usually pretty fun to be around. One time, he gave all his clothes away to Goodwill and bought 10 identical suits. Like Einstein, he said. All his pants were purple, though." "Sounds a little manic," Jackie comments. "He had his ups and downs, but he did get me seeing gamma radiation in a whole new way. I was a dabbler, obviously. Football was my career. Science was just a hobby that made me seem interesting. But then I got serious. Long story short, I quit football and made it my mission to duplicate what had happened to Bruce. And at the cost of my fortune, and with the funding and encouragement from Department H, the Canadian Superhero Monitoring Agency, we went ahead and did it." Walter quits speaking for a moment and looks out of the car at the open land passing him by. "Ever been hit by a gamma bomb, Jackie? It's a trip." "A trip, huh?" Jackie asks. Walter's story stirs up memories. Jackie tries to focus on the road, but she can't help it. She's a little girl again, and her dad is telling her, "Don't look." However, the young Jackie doesn't stop staring. No matter how much her father shakes her or pleads, it falls on deaf ears. In front of her, the ruins of her neighborhood. Dozens of houses in pieces, broken down to the ground. Cars are overturned and fires roar. Clouds of black smoke billow into the air. And in the center of it all, he was there. Remember what the TV said, baby girl. The emergency broadcast. If he's near, you keep quiet and you keep still. Don't draw attention. Don't look him in the eye. Walter replies, "Yeah, that look in your eye. I do get it. That's why I did it. I was a jock, remember? I worked out. I was twice as strong as Bruce, easily. So, the thinking went, my Hulk could counter his, create a deterrent for Canada, for the world, and my personality would remain in control. I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm a pretty laid-back guy, not so prone to anger. So, what was the catch? Jackie asks, as they pull into a city, passing a small Roxxon gas station. There is always a catch, isn't there? We did the test in the Arctic Circle. On the off chance I did start smashing, nobody was around to get hurt. But the walls of reality are thin up there, and a controlled gamma bombardment did something we didn't expect. Something outside conventional science. It opened something. A kind of door between this world and a darker one. A world of beasts and demons. And one of them got into me. Tanarak, one of the old beasts of the north. But that was a long time ago. Tanarak's dead, and I'm in control of Sasquatch now. Really? Jackie can't stop herself from wincing slightly. Glad to hear it, because one monster's enough. The two arrive at the scene of the Hulk sighting, only to be met with orange cones, caution tape, and the sound of newscopters hovering overhead. From the looks of it, two cars were picked up and slammed into each other before being thrown on the ground. And then another van was slammed on top of them. Walter places his hands on his hips. Ah, the Hulk School of Vehicle Maintenance. Jackie tells him, I'll get the details. After that, we should look for a bar. Little early, isn't it? We're not drinking. We're going for information. Like Banner does. He did it in Colorado and again in South Dakota. It's how he finds out about things. Things he can smash. Jackie and Walter stumble across a small restaurant called the Tripes, Burgers, and Beers. The bartender recognizes the picture Jackie shows her of Bruce Banner. She says that Bruce came in asking all kinds of questions about a guy named Noah Swanson. Yeah, Jackie confirms. The police told me. Big meth dealer, wasn't he? It's his van with the car smashed into Garland Street? Oh yeah, you betcha, the bartender answers. I said to him, oh geez, I said, you don't want to go asking too many questions there, fella. Suddenly, two men begin arguing on the other side of the bar. Screw you, one yells at the other. This interrupts the bartender, and she, in turn, yells, oh hey now, you two keep it down, okay? Don't make me come over there. Sorry, Pam. The other man apologizes. You heard her. Keep it down, jerk. Screw you, repeats the first man. Are they regulars? Jackie asks. The bartender sighs out. Oh yeah, you betcha. They're really quiet usually though. Don't know what's gotten into them. At that moment, the two men stand up from their seats and begin to fight one another. Walter sees this and gets up from his own seat, fixes his jacket, and prepares to separate the two men. Relax, he tells the women. I've got this. Space diplomat. Remember? Walter forces himself in between the two men and attempts to settle them both down. Okay, boys, why don't you tell Uncle Walt what's got you so riled up on such a nice day? Ask him, the first man shouts. He knows all about it. Walter, confused, turns to the second man. All about what? Come on, tell me. What are you two even fighting over? Where's all this anger coming from? Now, Walter's back is turned. He doesn't see when the first man scowls at him. He doesn't notice when the first man digs into his jacket pocket and pulls out a knife. He doesn't realize the danger he's in until he gets stabbed in the back. Walter's body drops to the floor. The next thing Jackie knows, she's in the hospital and paramedics are rushing Walter into the emergency room. One of the staff on duty tells Jackie that she is going to need to stay put for a while. The police are sending someone to take her statement.
Walter Lankowski,
the nurse mutters as she enters Walter's information into the computer.
That's real familiar.
Yeah, Jackie tells her. He's a superhero. Sasquatch, from Alpha Flight.
Oh yeah, I know him. Big orange fella, usually.
Yeah, big and orange. Pretty much all the time. But not then. He gets cut open and he doesn't change. Why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he want to? About an hour later, the detective sent to the hospital is finishing up his interview with Jackie. And that's everything, Ms. McGee? Yes, detective. It was all just out of nowhere. I don't think they even knew they did it. The detective scribbles down some final notes, closes his notebook, and places it back into his jacket pocket. Well, call us if you remember any more, but I think that'll do it. Though, if you do find Bruce Banner, Miss McGee, we'd sure like to talk to him, you know? Jackie sinks back in her seat and mumbles under her breath, Yeah, me too. A man wearing a red hat and a dirty brown coat sits in the seat next to Jackie. Good timing then, he tells her. Here I am. What happened to Lankowski? Jackie freezes. She doesn't look in his direction. He's in surgery. He was stabbed while we were looking for you. I'm sorry, what? What are you doing here? Following a hunch, Bruce says coolly. All humans emit radiation. Simple biophotons mostly, barely measurable. But the gamma infected, we have a very unique signature. And Walter's is just like mine. You can sense that? Jackie asks, amazed. Not me, Bruce responds. He can. Within the operating room, Walter begins to flatline. The doctors attempt to inject vasopressin in order to start his heart back up, but he isn't responding. No matter what the doctors do, Walter's life continues to fade away. Eventually, they give up. They rip off their gloves and take off their masks. They throw them in the trash and prepare to leave the room. In the waiting room, Bruce asks, what was Walter's prognosis when they brought him in? I don't know, Jackie answers truthfully. Not good. The paramedics said they could lose him. Potentially more than him. Walter, he wanted to turn himself into a second Hulk, you see? His gamma signature is just like mine. Exactly like mine. And now, the sun's gone down. It's night. And the night is his time. Bruce turns to Jackie. The bags under his eyes are sunken with sorrow. He tells her, we need to evacuate the hospital. Now. Within the operating room, the doctors prepare to call Walter's time of death. But then, they hear the sounds of bones breaking, skin stretching, metal creaking. They look back to Walter and realize he's transforming. His hands grow and the points of his fingers turn to claws. His jaw protrudes as his sharp fangs gleam in the light. His fur begins to spread all across his body. My God, whispers a doctor. God above, he prays. God above, snarls Sasquatch. No, quite the reverse. My devil had been long caged. He came out roaring. Robert Louis Stevenson. The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Before, on the Alpha Flight space station, Walter Lankowski is sitting through his performance review. However, it seems more like an intervention. Carol Danvers, the hero known as Captain Marvel, explains that her and the rest of the team are just concerned. Walter does good work for Alpha Flight, and she knows he has since before she led the operation. But lately, Walter has been much more aggressive in the field, and he's got a history when it comes to losing control. What's most concerning is that the team has been living on the space station for a year now, and every day they see a lot more of Sasquatch, but they never see Walter Lankowski at all. Why is that? After the review, Sasquatch dismisses himself to the locker room. He looks at himself in the mirror. A monster looks back. Fine. You want Walter? Sasquatch attempts to turn back into his human form. But something's wrong. It feels like something is holding him back, forcing him to stay turned. The transformation is more painful than it ever was before. Finally, when he turns back to Walter, he huffs. Okay, that was tougher than it used to be. I should probably talk to someone. Walter doesn't finish his thought. He checks his reflection again, and there's still a monster looking back at him. And now, Bruce sees his own monster looking back at him. Even off the slight reflection of the hospital directory, it yells and curses and hammers on the opposite end of the reflective surface, trying to get Bruce's attention, which probably isn't a good sign. Okay, Bruce turns to Jackie. You evacuate the hospital. I'll deal with Lankowski, or whatever he's become. Jackie stands to her feet. Wait a minute. You can't just... I've got questions. You owe me. I owe a lot of people everything, from stolen pants to ruined lives. Where you fall on the spectrum will have to wait. Yeah? So what happens now? I tell the people to run because a man might have risen from the dead? Why would they even believe me? Bruce opens the double doors leading to the operating room. The sounds of crying medical staff echoes through the corridor. Without looking, he tells Jackie, "You're a reporter, Ms. McGee. It's your job to make people believe you." The screaming will probably help. As Bruce walks down the hallway, he hears the emergency broadcast over the monitor. It's a code silver, ordering all staff and patients to evacuate immediately. It doesn't take him long to reach the operating room. Bruce pushes open the doors and sees Sasquatch licking the drips of blood off his fur. "Hello, Walter," Bruce tells him. "Can we talk?" Sasquatch sniffs the air. "I'm not Walter," he hisses. Bruce, still trying to reason with Sasquatch, counters, "And I'd rather talk to the real you." In reaction, Sasquatch slashes backwards. The tips of his claw shred through the skin on Bruce's neck, severing his corroded artery. Blood sprays into the air. Bruce collapses onto the ground and attempts to grab his neck to stop the bleeding. "It hurts to die, doesn't it, Bruce?" The puddle of blood beneath Bruce spreads. He is barely able to stutter a response. "Always." Then, Bruce's eyes glow green. With his death, the change begins. Within seconds, he is turned once again. The Hulk pushes himself to his feet. "It always hurts," he tells Sasquatch. "And when you hurt Banner, I take it personal." The Jade Giant lunges forward and hits Sasquatch with a left hook powerful enough to send the monster flying across the room. He isn't finished. The Hulk steps forward. "So, you're not Lankowski. That fits," he tells the beast before following up with a right uppercut that sends the Sasquatch crashing through the wall. "Lankowski's a creep. Smug, little know-it-all. Always was." The Hulk then charges forward and tackles Sasquatch through another wall after that. "But he never had 3 murders in him. You're something else, aren't you? See, nobody ever loved Walt for his mind. They only ever wanted the jock. So he only feels needed when he's furry. And he stays that way for months. Getting warm. The Sasquatch snarls. Very clever. The monster lifts a claw before sinking its nails into the Hulk's chest. Clever little monster. The Hulk's answer to this is ripping the Sasquatch's arm out of the socket. The giant now believes he's pieced it all together. So, Langowski stayed as Sasquatch too long, which left a door open and you got in through the green door. You got into Hotshot's girlfriend too, right? The Hulk slams Sasquatch on a nearby wall and begins to punch him repeatedly. What was that about? You wanted my attention? Why? What are you? Tanorak? Mephisto? Something worse? Who's in there? A mischievous grin spreads on Sasquatch's face. See for yourself, little monster. Behind you, he says, pointing to the reflective window of a nearby operating room. At first, Hulk laughs at the cheap attempt to distract him. And then he sees it. And he freezes. And he can't believe it. The face sneering back at him is his father's. Little monster, his father repeats, more insidious than before. The Hulk, for the first time in a long time, whispers, Daddy? His father slashes down again with his claw, ripping the Hulk's lip off his face. Didn't I say? I've always known what you would become since the beginning. I've always known that quick mind of his, those brilliant intuitive leaps. From the day he was born, it was you. Always you. The monster inside. I wish I'd killed you in the crib. No, the Hulk bellows, jumping back to his feet to attack his father. Sasquatch still has the advantage. Sasquatch lifts up the Hulk and throws him through the closest wall. It sounds like hell on earth inside the hospital. Like a dozen earthquakes at once. Sasquatch and the Hulk are going to knock the whole building down. People are attempting to evacuate, but it's not that easy. There are people who can't be moved. People on life support. The staff was not prepared for this. The Hulk puts his hands up in defense. It's not you. Can't be. The Sasquatch hisses. You can see ghosts. You can smell lies. You'd know if it weren't. I'm the father you killed, Bruce. Back through the green door. Back from death. Stay back, the Hulk orders him. Sasquatch continues to stomp forward through the hole in the wall. He stabs Hulk again. This time, he punctures the Hulk's abdomen with his razor-sharp claws. Feel that? The monster asks. My claws in your gut. That's the proof. Who else could ever hurt you like this? Who else can make the monster scared? The Hulk kicks the monster off of him. "No," he huffs. "No, you're just a man. A twisted old man who killed his wife. Tried to kill his son. Make him wish you had. You scare him. You scare Banner. You think that gives you power over me? Think that makes you important? Special? No, not special. Puny!" The Hulk charges up an attack and hits Sasquatch with a hit so hard it sends him crashing through multiple rooms. "You're nothing. Any power you have, someone gave you. Who brought you back? Who opened the door? Tell me, or I'll smash you." As the Hulk gets angrier, the pigment of his skin fluctuates. He charges forward for a follow-up attack, but Sasquatch is already standing to his feet. It needs a host personality to work in this world, to function. It burrows in, wears our souls like masks on a stage. "What does?" the Hulk spits back. "Tell me, what's behind you?" The Hulk throws another powerful punch, but this time Sasquatch catches it. The collision sends a concussive feedback that pushes back the surrounding medical equipment. "Every light casts a shadow. In every mirror, there is a reflection. As above, so below." Sasquatch lifts his claw into the air. Then he jams them back down and gouges the Hulk's eyes out. "Take a good look, my special boy. You'll see a darker shadow than yours. Gamma made Lankowski your equal. He just didn't know how to use it. That's all. Do you understand what needs to be done? I smell the sick and the weak. I smell children." Sasquatch raises his claw. Green blood drips from his nails. And then he stabs them down into the Hulk's chest. How many do I have to? Huh? At that moment, something hits Sasquatch that causes him to step back and stop in his tracks. He looks over his shoulder and finds Jackie McGee and a security guard carrying a taser. A taser? Huh. Sasquatch pulls the injectors from his arm. Remember all of this. He raises his claw and slashes down, killing the guard, and then raises it again to Jackie. Is the monster's fault. The Hulk is blinded, but he can still sense where the Sasquatch is in the room. Before Sasquatch can squat down, Hulk grabs his arm and puts him in a chokehold. Out of nowhere, a green current of energy cracks around the two creatures. The Hulk tells Sasquatch, Gamma, it made Lankowski what he is. Made you. Keeps your green door open, doesn't it? Doesn't it? But I eat Gamma. Sasquatch writhes in pain as it tries to escape the Hulk's grasp. All of the gamma is siphoned from the furry beast, forcefully turning it back into Walter Lankowski. Jackie watches it all unfold. What? What did you... The Hulk wipes the blood from his punctured eyes and waits for them to grow back before answering. Gamma restoration. I absorb it. Makes me stronger. Took all his. No more Sasquatch. No more Dad. Or whatever that was. Jackie lifts up Walter's arm and feels for a pulse. He's alive. You saved him. Shut up, McGee. Hulk snarls. You're with a local paper. But you drove across how many states to find me? And you couldn't even look at Banner. I noticed. Can't look right at me either. Whatever this is to you, whatever he owes, it's personal. The truth. Now. Unbeknownst to her, tears begin to form in Jackie's eyes. I've still got a man's blood on me. Maybe because of... Alright. When I was 15, you destroyed my home, my whole neighborhood. And they said to never look you in the eye. But I did. I saw you that day. And I have questions. The Hulk raises his eyebrow and analyzes the reporter. All right. One question. But make it quick. Now, tears are pouring down Jackie's cheeks. She cannot stop the unexpected overflow of emotion. Fine, she tells him. Here's my quick question. How do I do it? How? How do I get to be what you are? The Hulk hesitates. He thinks to himself and decides not to answer. Just go home, McGee. Go home. As the Hulk exits the building, Walter regains his consciousness. Jackie? He mutters in confusion. What happened here? You happened, she answers. You did this. Don't you remember? Sasquatch killed a man right in front of me. I don't even know his name. Walter lowers his head in embarrassment. He's gone, he answers. The Hulk? Jackie asks. Yeah, he just... No, not the Hulk, Walter snaps. Sasquatch. I could always feel him, but now I can't. He's gone. Where did he go? Outside, the Hulk steps 1 foot after the other through the parking lot. A small glimmer from a nearby car window catches his eye. The Hulk looks at the window and catches his reflection. To his surprise, he finds his father, once again, sneering back at him with that insidious grin of his. You know what they say. There are two people in every mirror. There's the one you can see, and there's the other one. The one you don't want to.